In this video, friends, I find myself in the state of Georgia, which is also known as the Peachtree State, and I'm visiting the very beautiful and very historic city of Savannah to finally check out that great Gretsch Sound Museum. And as a Gretsch enthusiast, I gotta admit, I was on cloud 9 checking this place out. This is going to be one fun adventure, so sit back and relax because this is one video you don't want to miss. So without further ado, let's begin this video now. Adventure fuel. Well, good morning, friends. It's 10 a.m. here in historic Savannah, Georgia. It's February 25th, 2023 on the day of this recording. Yesterday, I drove 6 hours, about 350 miles to get here. And why am I here? To see the great Gretsch Sound Museum that's located in the riverfront district of the city. I'm gonna walk down there in just a moment. But first, let's check out this cool view I've got outside my window. It's the parking garage, everyone. Oh yeah, oh, my car's parked there, somewhere on the second floor, but I won't be needing that today. Everything I'm doing today is walking. We've got a feathered friend there. I think my feathered friend there is welcoming me to Savannah. Good morning, little birdie. But we're gonna have a great time today, so join me on this adventure. Let's check out the museum, let's check out the sights of the city, and have a ball. Let's do this. Roughly 30 years ago, I bought my very first Gretsch guitar. I love the brand. In fact, I was first exposed to the brand in the early 80s by Brian Setzer and the Stray Cats. I really love the Monkees, so Mike Nesmith. And of course, I was a big fan of the early Beatles stuff, and George's Gretsch guitar was such a huge influence on me. I loved George, wanted to be like him, so of course I wanted to play the guitars that he played. The museum is just inside this lobby here of the District Live. Let's step inside here. Now, this free to the public museum opened in the fall of 2021, and this permanent exhibit all came together through a partnership between Gretsch, Georgia Southern University, and the Kessler Collection. Now, there's tons of memorabilia throughout the exhibit, and this very impressive collection was all hand-picked for this space. They've got guitars everywhere. There's display cases and storyboards that are filled with the company's history. Now, in this first part of the exhibit, which is the lobby area, there is over 30 guitars on display. And these are some of their most popular and iconic models. Up there, high up, I can spot a white Falcon. And I've got to admit, I'm a sucker for the Cadillac G tailpiece. And I actually have that same model, but mine was made the year before, in '97. Alongside it is a beautiful and very versatile guitar, a 6120 Brian Setzer signature guitar. This one's from '98. I also have that guitar, but mine was built in '97. These guitars sound great, they're great looking, and they're a lot of fun to play. Now here's a really cool Baldwin era guitar. It's a 1973 7560 double anniversary. I really like the dark sunburst. It's got the T-roof Gretsch logo and chrome control knobs. What a stunner this guitar is. I wish I could just take it down from there and strum on it. And over there we've got a 6118 135th anniversary model. It's a piece of art. Really dig that guitar. Here's a 6121 Roundup from 2009. Now I know Chet wasn't a big fan, but I'm a sucker for that country western aesthetic that it has on it. And right here is a highly sought after instrument from 1952. It's a Bacon Belmont guitar made by Gretsch. It has a really unique headstock and features dual D-Armand pickups.
With endorsement from some of
What's cool is this thing's interactive.
musicians in the world, Gretsch has undoubtedly secured its place in the annals of pop culture.
So if you walk over to these, just touch, and you get a little bit of history.
Branded guitar in 1926. For an organization that was established in 1883, guitar development was a relative late coming.
Now this guitar may be my favorite in the exhibit. It's a Gretsch George Van Epp 7-string. These guitars were the very first production 7-strings. And one thing that catches my eye on this guitar is the two dog-eared 14-pole Filtertron pickups. And I think they were made exclusively for this model. Now Gretsch debuted this guitar in '68 and I believe it had a good run for about 10 years. Now there's not many of them around these days, so if you can find one, I'd expect it'd run you anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 depending on the year and the condition. And here, it's nice to see George Harrison's Cloud 9 album on display. I bought this album when it was released, when it came out in the 80s, and I can still remember in early '88, when I was 14 years old, his cover of I Got My Mind Set on You was #1. And here is the music venue portion. What a huge collection in here. Let me give you a 360. And in case you're in here and you want to know what you're looking at, this is the 6123 Monkeys model. It has two Supertron pickups, and the pickguard and truss rod cover sports the Monkeys logo. It also has thumbnail markers on the top and bottom of the fretboard. Now sales of this guitar were low, and I've read there were only about a few hundred of these made. But nowadays it's a highly sought after collectible guitar. But as a Monkeys fan and a Gretsch guitar fan, I think this guitar is super cool. Now here is a short-lived Gretsch guitar model. It's a Chet Atkins Jr. And as you can see, it's a single pickup guitar and it was only made in 1970. Here's another personal highlight for me. This is a 1960 Gretsch 6119 Chet Atkins Tennessean. These guitars were a little less ornate than the 6120. It included only one Filtertron pickup in the bridge position. And the things I could play on this guitar. Now I want to show you the restrooms because the sinks in there are super cool. They're shaped like guitars. You gotta see these. I really dig that they're keeping the theme going even inside the restrooms. Now this guitar is one of the rarest pre-war American archtops. This is the Artist Model 150. And it's an amazing piece of history from the days of the swing era. Now I believe it was built in 1936, and this was Gretsch's top-of-the-line guitar when this was built. Now the guitar has a lower bout of 16 inches, and the body depth is 3 inches. I really wish I could play some jazz chords on this thing. What a stunning piece of artwork this guitar is. Well, there you have it. There's about 60 guitars in this room, and I'm so glad that I got some footage of this exhibit, the front and back rooms here. I really wanted to document this space for people who live overseas or who live very far away who might not be able to make the trip over here to see this. Now, I obviously couldn't show you every guitar, but I hope you dug the footage that I did get. Now, if you love Gretsch guitars like myself, you should definitely check this out if you can. Now, as some of you may know from watching my videos, I like all kinds of guitars, and I play a bunch of different brands. But whenever I play live or I record, I most always have a Gretsch guitar in my hands. And I think right there tells you something, that I really like Gretsch guitars. So now friends, I'd like to show you a little bit of what I saw in this incredibly old and historic city while I was here visiting for the weekend. And if you're just not sure if you want to visit the museum yet and you may need some extra encouraging, well, maybe what you see in the rest of this video will encourage you to come out to the city and get yourself into that great Gretsch Sound Museum. Now this is the Mercer House, and in 1981, a young man named Danny Hansford was murdered here. And this murder was portrayed in a 1994 book called Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. And in 1997, the book was adapted into a movie starring John Cusack that was directed by Clint Eastwood. Here are some historic steps. The city wants you to know to take these steps at your own risk there and be careful. Let's give it a shot. This is Kluski's Embankment Stores. These vaults are one of the oldest historical structures owned by the city. They were completed in 1842. It's actually pretty spooky in here. So while I was in Savannah, I needed to check out Graveface Records and Curiosities. And it's located in a part of town where the locals live and shop. Now this store carries new and old vinyl, toys, games, and yes, even effects pedals. This is definitely a cool store, and I would frequent this place often if I lived in the area. In this very square is where they filmed a scene, that very famous scene from Forrest Gump, where Forrest is sitting on the park bench and he says, "Life is like a box of chocolates, you never know what you're gonna get." It's pretty cool to walk through here and see these old headstones and you know, read some of the tombstones and get a sense of the people who lived here a long time ago. Alright, so this placard here about James Johnson. He was Georgia's first newspaper publisher and printer. This fella passed away in 1808. And he's buried here. Next to him is his father, I believe. And this is James's wife. Her name was Sarah. A lot of people that are buried in this cemetery died from the 1820 yellow fever pandemic. About over 700 people passed away from that, along with some physicians that were taking care of the sick. And they're all laid to rest here. But not a bad place to be buried. This is a very beautiful, beautiful cemetery. What I'm really digging in this city is the architecture, just the way everything's laid out. It's really beautiful. Got that Southern charm thing going on. First Girl Scout headquarters, 1965, National Historic Landmark. And there it is, the first Girl Scout headquarters in the United States, right here in Savannah. Pretty cool. This is Graveface Museum, and in a nutshell, it's a museum dedicated to oddities and criminal history. Now they do have some vinyl inside, which is pretty cool, and they also have a cool collection of horror-themed pinball machines. Well friends, that's going to wrap things up here in Savannah, Georgia. I hope you enjoyed seeing those guitars today as much as I did. That was on my bucket list ever since it opened, and now I can cross it off. Now before I go, I'd just like to leave you with some inspiring words. Never dwell on what you don't have. This will simply manifest into more negativity, and you'll never get to where you want to be. And with that, friends, I'm going to say goodbye to you. Much love to you all. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon in another guitar video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.